Hi, folks. Welcome to Hardlines, Truth, and Common Sense. Um, Focus of the channel is we are going to discuss current events. I'm going to just lay out just bare facts stuff. I'll interject my opinion in places, but it's opinion is not so much as important as the facts of the matters. Um, there's going to be a lot of people who want to disagree with what I might have to say. That's okay. That's your right. I'm a constitutionalist. I don't really identify left or right. I mean, to me, politics is all a mess. But there are things going on now that there's plenty of people talking about it, and focus here is that we're going to talk about it too. And I'm going to take a slightly different approach by just stripping it to the basics. I mean, there's so many technicalities and things that people want to exploit in things going on in our current events, and it's a lot of this can be just very simplified. So, without further ado, we're going to rip right into our first one here, and this one is the hottest thing in the news right now: the Minneapolis shooting of Renee Good by a ICE agent. Um, let's just cut into the facts of this. There are now several videos circulating around, three different views. The first one, even when I turned around and saw the first one, my thought was, yeah, because, I heard the first shot in the video, and then I saw him point his service weapon into the driver window and fire two more times. The first shot was the one I found questionable at first. Then they showed the other angle from, I guess it was a street cam, a doorbell cam, something along those lines, that showed Miss Good physically make contact with that officer with the left front fender of her car. And you can see that he is thrown off balance. I mean, if another foot to the left, and she'd have been on top of him. Then the bombshell video came, which was the cell phone footage from the ICE officer. Now, let's break this down. First of all, what we know about Renee Good's background is that, she's once divorced, once widowed, three children, family and friends. They all had, super nice things to say, but, they always do. Family and friends always do. There were a lot of conflicting stories. Some people, oh, well, she was just driving through. She wasn't a part of that, and yada, 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 yada. There were other reports saying, oh, well, she believed that, deportation is horrible and ICE is horrible, and, these things shouldn't happen. And at the end of the day, it's already been proven beyond a reasonable doubt with the cell phone cam that she was there for the sake of causing ICE a headache. She was there to agitate. She was there to impede. Even her wife, life partner, whoever, in another video that was released in the aftermath of it, said, "That's my wife. This is my fault. I made her come." The wife admitted that they were there to blockade the streets to keep ICE agents from coming in or out. So let's get down to the brass tacks of what happened. So Renee Good, she goes and apparently thinks that this is a good idea to block the street as a protest to ICE or whatever. Now, I'm going to recite some stuff for you here that's going to really just put this into perspective, and this is Minnesota State Penal Code. I did look this up, and I'll be putting a link in the description. This is from the state of Minnesota's website. This is a .gov website, so it is a true government from the state website. This is their penal code regarding criminal offenses. So before we ever get to her encounter with these ICE officers, you have her already in violation. Oh, and let me back up just a little bit. I'm getting ahead of myself. The wife stated in interviews and with conversations that they were there with their whistles to inform, any immigrants, migrants in the neighborhood that ICE was there conducting investigations or executing warrants or whatever. So with that being said, they are already in violation of Minnesota Penal Codes 609.4971, which is warning a subject of investigation, and 609.4975, which is warning a subject of surveillance or search. Arrestable offenses right there. I mean, just being there, blowing a little whistle, letting, ICE is in the hood. You're breaking the law. I'm sorry. I understand you think you're doing a good thing, but you're breaking the law. Okay? Right there. Now, here's the other thing. Their assembly was very, you could probably turn around and go with unlawful assembly and disorderly conduct and public nuisance. Because if you're standing on a public sidewalk, holding a sign, or holding your signs up, whatever, that falls under your First Amendment right. You are totally permitted to do that. But when you are blocking streets with a motor vehicle, when you are walking around in the middle of the streets impeding the flow of traffic, when you're turning around and accosting ICE officers, such as her wife, life partner, whatever you want to call the other lady was doing in the cell phone footage video. Come at us, big boy. You gonna come at us? You gonna come at us? Go get you some lunch, big boy. Why don't you go get you some lunch, big boy? That is disorderly conduct and public nuisance. Those fall, and that can fall under unlawful assembly, which falls under 609.705 for unlawful assembly, 609.72 for disorderly conduct, and 609.74 for public nuisance. Anyone who was there with him was subject to arrest too under 609.715, which is presence at an unlawful assembly. All right, now we get to the meat and potatoes. We get to her encounter with the ICE officers. So you can physically see when he steps out of his vehicle. He's on the passenger side, and you can see his vehicle in the other vehicles. He was one on the Suburban on the upper side of the street. She is physically backing this car up and pulling forward in order to prevent ICE vehicles from advancing down this street. Well, this officer, of course, because the thing is, they are there for immigration enforcement. That's what ICE stands for, Immigration and Customs Enforcement. They're not there to arrest some Fruit Loop lady in her little Honda blocking the street. They just want her to go away. But it's a prosecutable offense. You get out, you take the footage, you get her face, you get her plate numbers, and you pass that on to the state or county authorities. They deal with that. They go pick her up at home later, and she's charged with obstruction under Minnesota Penal Code 609.50. Okay? So, she's already in violation of this, which right there is an arrestable offense. Well, he's walking around, he's getting this information, and he's coming around the vehicle, and he stops. And as he's coming around the passenger side again, that's when the wife starts hurling insults. Are you going to come at us? You going to come at us? Yeah, why don't you go get you some lunch, big boy? Why don't you go get you some lunch? And at which point in time, I'm here to tell you, if I was a police officer and somebody was, just being some kind of way with me like that, I would already be nervous. I'm not even going to lie. Because what is this person going to do next? Now, a little background on this ICE officer. This officer, just a few months prior, was involved in a stop that led to detention of illegal migrants who tried to flee. Somehow this officer got tangled up with the vehicle and was dragged a few hundred feet from what I understand. Spent a little time in the hospital over that one. Galled his leg up, galled an arm up. I mean, he wasn't a pretty case of road rash. So he's already had one bad encounter with a vehicle. And I know what some people are going to say. Oh, well, if he's suffering from that kind of thing, he doesn't. Okay. Understand something. If we turned around and fired every officer that had been through some type of traumatic event, be it a shooting, be it getting dragged, run over, beaten, stabbed, assaulted, whatever, we wouldn't have a branch of law enforcement, government enforcement. We wouldn't have nothing in the way of law and order in this country because nobody would be fit for it. After a few months on the job, you encounter something. You wouldn't be fit for that job anymore if we did it that way. So already you can't just sit here and say that, oh, well, if he was already like some kind of way because of what happened, he shouldn't have been, he should have resigned his position, or he should have been terminated from that position and put behind a desk. We'd have a bunch of desk jockeys. So he moves to the left front corner of the vehicle. At this point in time, the other two ICE officers that you see in the first video exiting the Nissan Titan pickup walk to the car. They give clear, lawful orders. Get out of the car. Get out of the car. They grab the door handle. And again, for the last time, the one screams, get out of the fucking car. These are lawful orders. Okay, at this point in time, you are detained. You are detained. All right? There's no questions about it. This is, this isn't, I'm sorry, I'll go home. No, you were detained. Period. You're not going home at this point in time. You will after you've spent a night in the pokey and you've seen a judge and you've had a bond set. Then you can go home, which at this point would have been in her best interest. Just at this point in time, put the car in park and get out and comply, because you done piss these people off. So, at this point in time, again, she has now accumulated herself a second count of obstruction under 609.50. I mean, you don't get out, you don't comply with a lawful order. That's called obstruction. Any law book in the land will tell you that. Now, at this point in time, the agent in question is standing in front of the left front fender. He's about in line with the headlight. And she's got her doors locked. Her girlfriend, wife, whatever's trying to get in on the passenger side. She can't because the doors are locked. The other agents are pulling on the driver door handle. And you hear her wife scream, "Go, baby, drive, go, go, go." She cuts the wheels, and you can, if you have your audio up on that video, you can hear the engine race up. This was not a gradual acceleration. This was a punch of the throttle. You can hear the tires break loose on wet pavement. Now, I don't know what was going through her head at that time. I don't know if she thought she had the wheel turned far enough to miss this officer, if she just didn't care, if she thought he was going to get out of the way. In any event, she punched the throttle. The vehicle made contact with the officer, almost knocking him off his feet, at which point he reacts. He reacts the way he is trained to react in a situation like that, which is he draws his service weapon and he fires first shot through the windshield, striking her in the face. The car is still moving under acceleration. Now, in the heat of the moment, you can't see where on the subject you have hit this person. For all you know, you caught her in the shoulder and she's still fleeing. So at that point in time, he points to the driver window and fires 2 more rounds. There's 3 shots total in the video. In any of them, you hear 3 distinctive shots if you listen. At which point in time, the car careens, crashed into another car and ultimately a light pole. And unfortunately, she was probably dead with the first round. Now, when she turned around and punched that throttle and made contact with that officer, The minute she made contact, she caught what Minnesota refers to as a combination framework charge, which was 609-2112, which was which would have been criminal vehicular homicide. No, yeah, criminal vehicular homicide. Potentially another charge under 609.2113, which is criminal vehicular operation bodily harm. But those two are thrown together in Minnesota under statute 609.17, which is the attempt statute. This means that's just a fancy statute that puts attempted at the front of those things. Attempted vehicular homicide, attempted criminal vehicular operation. So at this point in time, she's racked up a list of charges. Now, a lot of people want to turn around and say that the officer could have got out of the way. The officer, could have done this. He could have done that. Could have shot the tire. Let me explain something. Police training is not it's not a game. If you were shooting to wing everybody versus putting them down, we'd have a lot of dead cops. Because if you get somebody that's cranked up on something and they're armed and you just shoot them and injure them, I got news. This isn't movies. They're not just going to go down and stay down. It's not like you kneecap somebody and they just hit the ground. If they're in a state of rage or under the influence of drugs, they're not going to go down. They're going to charge you, and they're going to have their way with you, and you will end up having to kill them if you plan on surviving. So police training and military training as well. I'm a veteran. We're taught that when something like that happens, that authorizes use of deadly force. You fire until the target is down or until it stops. This is where you get these, situations of cops fired, 10, 15, 20 rounds at people. Because that's how many times it took them to hit the ground. You don't stop firing until the target is down. You neutralize the threat. If it's up, it's still a threat. So that being said, that's his training. That when you are put in a position of imminent bodily harm, or what you feel could be imminent bodily harm, you shoot for use of deadly force. You're not trained to do anything else because you don't have that kind of time, that kind of precision in a high-stress situation. Now, for those of you saying, oh, well, he could have jumped out of the way. He wasn't obligated to jump out of the way. And let me explain something. You'd all better be glad that he didn't jump out of the way or was not obligated to jump out of the way. I'm not going to say be glad he didn't jump out of the way. Had he jumped out of the way, maybe a different outcome. None of us know. None of us know because that didn't happen, and we don't have time travel. It doesn't exist. We can't go back and tell him, hey, this lady's, going to stand another, foot to the right, or, if she does, just be ready to move. Understand, too, action is always faster than reaction. If he had known she was going to turn around and punch that throttle, I guarantee you he probably would have moved. But he didn't know that. He didn't realize she was moving until she made contact. It was a split second. There wasn't time for him to jump out of the way. All he could do was react. And he reacted as his training taught him. He drew his service weapon, he fired, and neutralized the threat. It's cut and dry. And unfortunately, she lost her life and he was in the right. It was a good shoot. I mean, I know that's not what a lot of people want to hear. And I hate that the lady died. She didn't have to die. There was no reason that she had to die. But she did that to herself. She put herself in a position she didn't need to be in. Left children behind. I mean, I can't blame a police officer or an ICE officer or any other law enforcement individual for wanting to go home to their families too. Okay, you know, this isn't... Unfortunately, more often than not in a situation like that, it's a them or you situation. And unfortunately, that was the position that Renee Good put herself in and put that ICE officer in. There was no call for it, but it happened. And it played out in accordance with the law. It was a justifiable shooting. I can't say it wasn't. But be glad that he wasn't, that law enforcement isn't obligated to jump out of the way of hazards. Because if they did, and you called the police to respond to somebody kicking in your door at 4 o'clock in the morning, the police would tell you, oh, we don't respond to imminent danger situations like that. We don't get in the middle of imminent danger. Call us back when they're done, and we'll come take your report. Yeah, that works great. Works great when they turn around and massacre everybody in the house. Nobody to call back. But as tragic as it is, she set herself up for that. And she's getting a lot of press. I mean, everybody's up in an uproar about that. And I'm going to turn around and do another video on the subject of things that are happening in Minnesota that this is going to play a very central part in. And I think you're going to find this rather fascinating. Some people might call me a conspiracy theorist, but that remains to be seen. It makes a lot of good sense. But, you know, emails in the in the page description. Any questions, comments, feel free to shoot me an email. Love to see what your thoughts are on this. And we'll be talking other things. And another thing too, I'm also I'll probably be posting videos almost daily, and I'll be doing shorts. And I do a lot of interaction with answering questions on websites some of you may have heard of, Quora. And that's actually where I got the idea to do the channel, is somebody that liked a lot of my answers, and she had messaged me on Quora and said, you should start a YouTube channel. I really like the sense you make of things. You know, I think you have a different insight. And so yeah, here I am. So what I'm going to start doing is I'm going to do a short based on my Quora answers. We're going to choose a question from Quora every day, and I'm going to do a little short video, and we're going to answer that question, and maybe hit a few talking points on it. So thanks for watching, and look forward to our next video.